Hey guys, and welcome to another Factorio Friday Facts discussion. And today we are going to do something a little bit different. This is going to be actually more of a feedback gathering video rather than a full discussion on the Friday Facts. We will cover the kind of summaries or bullet points of the Friday Facts, but this one is very technical and I personally don't understand a lot of it. So I feel like me trying to just read through all of it would be really boring, to be honest, because I would literally just be reading the words and have no idea what most of it means. So if you are interested in the technical stuff and you kind of understand that, this would be a very interesting read. It looks like it would be very, very interesting for people who do understand it. But like I said, it's very technical to the point where I just don't know what pretty much 85% of this stuff means. But anyway, back on track. So we'll start at the top here. After a lot of the planning, they had the party for the 1 million copies sold last Saturday. They said it went very well, and it did seem to be. People who went posted some pictures on my Discord. Anti-Elites was there. It looks like they had a ton of fun. I think Anti-Elites team Steel Axe actually won the quiz they had, which was pretty cool. They had a Factorio like 30 question quiz or something. Some of the stuff looked really hard, actually. But yeah, we really enjoyed spending time with some of our fans, and it has definitely sharpened our motivation to do right by our community, make the game as great as possible. With this festivity behind us, we started this week with some renewed focus. So that's that's awesome. I mean, I kind of we always knew that they want to do right by the community and stuff anyway. I mean, really some of the best devs I've ever seen. So it's just good reassurance there. And then a 0-15 stabilization push by our seeding. So this is actually written by 3 people, our seeding, Twinsen, and Clonin. So these last few days we have made a larger push to handle all the 15.x bug reports on the forums. Our current estimate is that we will have a stable release within a few weeks. So that's pretty good news. I mean, a stable release for 0.15 within a few weeks is actually fairly quick when you think, it only came out like a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. I don't remember the exact date. It was in April sometime, I think. And then really, it just, then the question, I guess, becomes is how long until the first experimental release of 0.16? That kind of means a lot for a lot of people. Like I know Colonel Will is, waiting until 0.16 in the train rework to start his Mega Base. And I think quite a few people are waiting for that as well. So we'll see about that. But the stable release in a couple weeks is really good news. And then he just goes on to say that as the player base has grown, that the number of bugs found has grown because there's more people on more often to find stuff. Most of the time the fixes are simple, but they can have unforeseen consequences that show up quickly with the number of daily active players. We do our best to test that they won't break anything with a bug fix and write tests when it makes sense. He says, so sometimes it isn't enough and we happen to get something like this recent bug introduced in 15.22 and fixed in 15.23. As of 0.22, modded GUI elements are marked per element with which mod created them, so when the mod is no longer active, they can be automatically removed. And then he just kind of goes on to the logic behind it. And like I said, I'm not going to read all this. But yeah, so they've kind of been working with the modding stuff. And then this part is, it looks like a really good write-up by Twinsen. But like I said, I really don't understand almost any of it. So Wireshark, Dissector for Factorio, quick and dirty technical. So they were doing a MMO event, and I experienced this too. I did the unofficial party with Catherine the Sky and Gepwin and those other people who joined, and we kind of had some of the same issue where once we started getting a higher number of players, people were starting to get dropped and they were unable to connect back. We did kind of experience that. It looked exactly like a network bandwidth problem, so my first thought was, well, get a better server before hosting an MMO event. That's a fair point. That would kind of be my first thought too. But I started looking at the traffic on my computer, and there was some unusually high bandwidth being used, especially during connection. Later, I was shown that with about 60 online players and no one downloading that server was uploading game traffic at about 90 megabytes a second. That's insane. That's like massive internet usage for that. Wireshark, my favorite, and I believe the best tool for inspecting network packets. So he used that to capture the game traffic and started to look around. I could see that there was a very large amount of packets, but since everything was binary data, and interpreting the packets was not easy. It took me about 10 minutes just to decode a few fields of one packet. So he goes on to explain the packets. This part I'm not really going to read again. If you're interested, definitely check it out. It's linked in the description, as always, to this Friday Facts. And then just kind of goes through the process of their, I guess, kind of troubleshooting thing for this. So he says, I would say that the lesson to take from this is that what looks like a quick and dirty hack might, in the end, be a much better solution. I ended up with an easy to maintain plugin that gets the job done and did it in a little over 2 weeks. Here's a screenshot of how inspecting packets looks like. So we have source, IP, Factorio, like the application. This may be the amount of players. And then it kind of just breaks it down here. So now when you want to report a bug related to network or inability to connect, adding a Wireshark, this capture might help us debug the problem. Regarding the bandwidth problems, they were caused by the blueprint library. When players with very large blueprint libraries were in game, this has since been fixed by Oxy, and he is working on improving the synchronization bandwidth further, which makes sense because if I understand this correctly, what they're referring to is like the blueprint syncing, I believe. Because I did notice, like, some games, I would join, or when someone else joined one of my games, that, it would sync their blueprints that they had in their library, so I could access them in the game. And, larger blueprints like that, it took quite a while. And I can imagine with like 60 people, that would use a ton of bandwidth to do. So I'm glad that got fixed. And then now the feedback part, I'd be interested in you guys leaving your feedback on this part down here, which I'll explain in just a second, in the comments. A, because I'm interested, and B, because I think at least one of the two devs, I believe, watched some of these, and they are looking for feedback for this. So either in addition to, or instead, if you don't want to leave them in the comments, definitely leave some feedback in the forums, because they are asking for it. For the mini tutorial review, and this is written by Clonin, who made the in-game tutorials. So I'm looking to go over the newly added tutorials for 0.15 and to try to see what was done well and which areas need some improvement. I would like to ask for community feedback on this topic. At the moment, we have the 5 trained tutorials, but more will be in the works soon. But he doesn't want to start on new tutorials until myself and others in the team are satisfied that we have the process mechanics working perfectly. So if you have any comments or feedback on the mini tutorials, Factorio, or just something you'd like to say, we welcome you to fill us in over on our forum. The forum discussions are always quite interesting. So anyway, this, I know I said mainly I'm looking for feedback. I actually went through this more than I intended to, because as I read through it, it made a little bit more sense, except for most of this stuff. But yeah, so I'd be really interested to hear in the comments, and if any of the devs watch this, they could read the comments, or then also go to the forum and leave any feedback you have on the tutorials, the mini train tutorials that are currently in the game, and maybe ideas or suggestions for how to do it or not do it in the future. Personally, I haven't gone through the train tutorials. My train knowledge is not like great, but it's better. It's good enough to the point where I don't need those tutorials, because they're fairly basic level, I believe. I've looked at a couple of them, and personally, my feedback is they seem pretty good. Some things I read on the forum discussion, which I would completely agree with, is that it would be nice if there was some way to access them from the main menu, because there's not currently. I would like, just a button, just like tutorials or something, that you can just go straight into them. Pick which ones you want to go through and stuff, just straight from the main menu. And I'm trying to think, reading what other people said. Some people said they were maybe a little drawn out. Again, I can't comment on that. I didn't go fully through any of them. But yeah, so leave your feedback. I'd certainly be interested down in the comments about the tutorials, and, maybe what you think the next thing they should do tutorials on would be. I'd say maybe like logistic system or circuit network. The circuit network one would be, I feel like that would be quite a chore to actually explain pretty well. But like the logistics system, you know, I think a lot of newer players don't understand how the logistics system works. You know, I didn't when I first started. And, you know, especially like the difference between the chests, because that can be really kind of confusing. I still see quite a few questions about that, or people like using the active providers when they probably actually wanted to use the passive providers if they knew what the difference was. So stuff like that I think would maybe be good. But yeah, I believe that's it, guys. So leave your feedback down below and also on the forum. And any other thoughts you have, definitely leave here. Like I said, if you're interested in this, check it out. Linked in the description. And I believe that'll do it. So as always, thanks for watching, guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you did enjoy, feel free to leave a like. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and do take care.